Good evening and welcome to Crossroads. One of the titans in the New World vanguard is now in its death throes. This is ESG, environmental and social governance. It's the gun being held to the heads of big corporations, forcing them to adopt environmental and social policies that, well, usually go against both profits and the interests of consumers. The system works heavily through investment firms which use their control of money to award or to punish businesses, based on how well they align with the New World globalist agenda. But that agenda looks like it's now reaching the end of the road. Well, the problem with all this? Customers, the consumers, the market, the people who buy the products. It looks like they no longer want ESG. Look at Bud Light, Target, Disney. The anti-woke boycotts are tearing into their profits. All this is sending a message. Push an agenda that people don't want, and people are not going to buy your products. If you stand against the values of your customers, they will boycott you. And this pushback is having a ripple effect through the market. Businesses that adopted these ESG standards are now making a choice that's going to harm their bottom line. They're losing money. This means they're breaking their fiduciary duty to shareholders if they keep on it. They're making dumb decisions that are costing people their investments. People are losing money because of ESG. And, well, aside from the threats of lawsuits, which I'll talk about later, why would investors put their money in businesses that are going to lose that money so that the companies can push this political agenda? Well, look. This is even beside the point that ESG may in fact be breaking antitrust laws. In other words, ESG is losing support from consumers, it's losing shareholders, companies that use it are facing legal threats. The agenda behind all of it is being rejected. It is now dying. You can see the death of ESG in the new policies of one of its top former advocates, BlackRock Investment. They managed about $10 trillion in assets back in 2021. That's about 40% of the American GDP. They're expected to top $15 trillion in the next 5 years. They are now abandoning ESG. Back in 2021, they voted in close to half of the ESG proposals. That was 47%. That was cut in half last year. And now, well, this year, they've only approved about 7% of the ESG proposals. And keep in mind, the anti-woke boycotts are new about halfway through this year. And of course, 7%, that's still a lot, given how much money the firm controls. But you can see the trajectory. You can see the direction it's heading. They're getting rid of ESG now because of shareholder demands. Shareholders want to get rid of it because consumers don't want it. And if we go by what people want and what they don't want, well, it looks like ESG is on its way out. The statement from BlackRock, according to New York Post, is this: so many shareholder proposals were overreaching, lacking economic merit, or simply redundant. In other words, the free market prevails yet again. The CEO of BlackRock, Larry Fink, recently told Fox News that even the term ESG has been hijacked. They're saying someone took it over. He said it was weaponized by the far left and weaponized by the far right, and we lose the conversation. He noted that even though he won't use the term anymore, basically with this, he's doing other things. And it's not just BlackRock either. Vanguard, the other big company like this, one of the biggest investment firms as well on the ESG agenda, well, they're also dropping ESG. The company manages about $8.2 trillion. They cut ESG support all the way down to about 2%. They've gone even further than BlackRock, in fact. But look, as they say, well, the king is dead, long live the king. ESG is dying, but, well, its successors are already lining up. CNN reported that the term is now being dropped, but, well, it's likely companies are going to break down the agendas according to individual topics. So instead of ESG, it will be things about climate. Maybe it'll be social responsibility, maybe equity, Forbes reported that Walmart is shifting its ESG report to LGBTQ plus pride issues. Now look, I'm sure we're going to see some creative rebranding, but beneath all that fancy wrapping paper is the same broken object. The hard reality for all of them is that consumers are not just rejecting the name. They're rejecting the thing the name represents. But it may take the powers that be some time to realize this, to wake up and smell the kafifi. Now, Larry Fink, notably, is also using a new name for it. He now refers to it as conscientious capitalism. It's not yet fully grown, but it waits in the sidelines. But what some people call conscientious capitalism, well, others just call fascism. It's the use of corporations to work as a force in government, or governance, if you want to use the ESG slogan for it. It's a way of manipulating free markets in order to use businesses as the tools for a broader agenda. Social media companies, for example, can be forced to censor their users because of, say, controversial speech. Clothing lines can be forced to promote race and gender policies. Entire industries can be crushed or even refocused on areas that, well, are just financially impractical but, well, useful for politics. The problems with the agenda are not necessarily tied to the name. As The Hill reports, the insidious nature of ESG means that the savings and pension funds of ordinary citizens can be leveraged to support policies with which they may fundamentally disagree. ESG was causing higher fees. It was giving less profit back in return. It was a way of using a monopoly on cash in order to manipulate the markets, and it's your cash. And given that the government itself was pouring money into some of these ESG firms, including by handing them your pension funds, its agenda was being propped up by the hands of the state. Public-private partnership, they might call it. Well, folks, that's it for YouTube. For the rest of the episode, come join us on Epoch TV, where we have a flash sale right now, 25 cents a week. Come and get it. That being said, we're of course being censored on not just YouTube, but a lot of platforms. Actually, Twitter X just censored us as well. In fact, one of our documentaries was recently canceled on there. It's very difficult to tell you real news these days in the current, social media environment. A lot of these outlets do not let us report certain issues. There are some topics I cannot talk about on YouTube. We can't even put them on Twitter at this point. And so for real news, come join us on Epoch TV. We have a lot of really important documentaries. We don't shy away from the issues that are not only important, but that usually get us censored and attacked, which probably says a lot. And so for these things, again, come join us at Epoch TV. It's the only platform we have where we can really show you this information. Also, by supporting us there, you help the show as well. I'm totally demonetized on YouTube. I've been since the day which we shall not name. I'm half joking. J6. I've been demonetized. My page is frozen in terms of subscribers, and so if you want to watch Crossroads, come join us. It's keeping the show going. It's doing well, by the way. And also helps us do a lot of our big projects, documentaries, the bigger research programs we have. We've been doing some great special features. Again, all of that is on Epoch TV. So come join us, 25 cents, and I will see you there.
People from 160 countries illegally cross the U.S.-Mexico border and give themselves up to Border Patrol. But what about the ones who evade Border Patrol? These are known as the gotaways.
You can safely assume that anybody that went through the extra effort to avoid U.S. Border Patrol was not an asylum seeker by default.
It may not be today, it may not be tomorrow, but somewhere down the road, if somebody rapes and kills somebody, and we find out that they came through here on my watch, that's unacceptable.
These men had surrounded my house. They were banging on my back door. They were banging on my front door.
You can't understand it unless you're out here seeing it every day. 21 dead bodies on the property.
Code 3 response.
Is it wrong to ask people to come to your front door of your home? Then why would it be wrong to ask people to come to the front door of our nation?
Their primary goal is to circumvent the checkpoints, go undetected.
People that do not want to surrender, those are going to be the potential terrorists, the criminals, the real threat to the U.S.
We were hoping the federal government would step in and do something, but they didn't.
We have no clue who they are or where they're going. That's the scary part.